to another episode of One Cardinal, One Cup, and One Beer, starring JJ Jackson.
And Vince Hopper.
Well, yeah. I'm like one of those guest stars, you know.
Oh, yes.
Medical
Tonight.
Center.
Yes, tonight.
Everett.
Tonight on Mannix.
Yeah. Guest star, Ralph Smith. So anyway, let's get some housekeeping done. I'm going to vacuum and do some dusting. I'm in a weird mood, so the bad jokes just made.
All right.
When I'm not having, not to go into any detail at all, but like an hour before we started reporting, something came to my attention that just got my hackles up. And I will put it this way. If you don't have the ability to take care of your own, I don't get you. I don't. There are people that are your family that you need to absolutely keep an eye on, check in on, help them out financially if need be, give them a visit because they're lonely, all that other stuff. That's part of what you sign up for when you're a human being. And I know none of us chose to be born, but you are born. And there are certain obligations that you have. And I am not the best person in the world. I am so flawed. But by golly, I am decent to the people I need to be decent to. And that is something that just angers me. So that rant's over.
Well, I want to stay on your good side, Vince. So if you've ever seen me getting out of line, I need people around me to, some people need the carrot, some people need the stick. I need the stick, Vince. I need the stick.
I just find it so egregious when you have family members in need and you don't even make an effort. I'll put it that way.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
I did not have the best relationship with my mother. We had our issues. But by golly, I could not have treated her like I see some people treating their parents. And I'm like, holy cow. What's wrong with you? I don't know. But
Vince, I don't think it takes much either. Sometimes it's just a phone call. Hey, I was thinking of you. Or, I try to keep little relationships with my friends and people I've known in the past and just reach out to them. Or my mom, she's down there in Arkansas by herself. And I call her and said, just include her in the daily activities and try to go down and meet her, at a restaurant or something. Or she loves playing bingo. Mom, I got a Saturday off. Why don't we go play bingo together? And we just catch up, and it'll be some of the best. I mean, it's simple things, but time, just precious moments I'll remember forever. Just those moments like that. So it doesn't take much, just reach out to people, especially this time of year. It's so dark, and a lot of people get seasonal depression. You just reach out to them, let them know you're thinking of them. I think that goes a long way.
yeah, I'll tell this story about my mom because this was so cute. My mom, the last 5 years of her life, was physically in terrible shape. Um, she was in her 70s. She looked like she was in her 90s. She just was not in good shape. But the thing is, as my mom got older, she mellowed out and got kind of became a sweet old lady, So one, I would go visit her even when I moved from Collinsville to Peevely. I would try to visit her once a month. So one one day I go to visit her, and she lives in assisted living in a one room little studio. So there's not a whole lot to do there, and there's not much she can do, but she did like going to the Goodwill to go clothes shopping. So she said, I need to go to Goodwill. I said, okay, let's go to Goodwill. So I don't know if you've ever walked around a Goodwill. I've walked around plenty of Goodwills. I love going to Goodwill because I love secondhand shopping. I love finding stuff and hidden treasures and stuff like that. So I took mom to the Goodwill. Now my mom, she was in a wheelchair, but she could hold it like a walker. And that my mom was, yeah, people think I'm a cheapskate. My mom was the king of cheapskates. That's where I get it from. So my mom went through just about every shred of clothes and she couldn't move fast. She was riddled with arthritis and everything. And I walked around the entire store and I didn't do it quickly. I did it leisurely. And within 20 minutes, I'd seen everything. And my mom kept saying, she's still looking at clothes. You can go look around. I'm thinking, Mom, I have looked around. We stayed there almost 3 hours.
Oh, you're a good son. That is
went through meticulously every stitch of clothes. So finally she goes to check out. And this was my mom. Uh, this one says it's $1.25. Would you take 75 cents? Okay, Ma. So I take her back to her place, and my mom had this thing that she did all the time. She would get milk at lunch because it was a pretty nice uh, extended care place. Um, she would get milk every day with her lunch, but she'd never drink. She'd take the carton, she'd take it home, she'd put it in her freezer and freeze it, and then she would give it to me because I had kids. So every time I went there, I would carry home a garbage bag full of milk, and then I don't want frozen milk, you know. So then I would just toss it, you know. And one of my sisters was like, I tell mom, don't do that, blah, blah, blah. I said, what's it matter? It makes her happy. I just take it home and toss it. I don't know anybody who uses frozen milk, but so but that was just my mom. She was a cheapskate, but I like us on Facebook. Those of you who are watching on the YouTube channel, please remember to subscribe. If you'd like to contact us, you can contact us through any of our platforms. You can go through one card, one cup, one beer at gmail.com. If you'd like to support us through Patreon, we would really love your support on Patreon. You can support us for as little as $3 a month or as much as $10 a month for those of you who are extremely rich. And that support is greatly appreciated. So, JJ, how are you doing? I've already ranted.
Vince, I'm doing great. I'm doing great, and I would probably drink some frozen milk. I probably would. So I understand. Vince, through my life, as I wander this planet, I find very few things that I get a lot of enjoyment in. Every once in a while, I'll find something I'm like, this is great. And I got a list here of some things through my life because at the end it goes back to baseball. But right now, things that I found in life that I just really loved and I got kind of hooked on it. And one was Casey Kasem's Top 40. Of course, yeah, wasn't it great? Every week you listened. It went on for like 4 hours and he'd play the top three songs from the week before. And then he'd have little stories and he would say at number 33 and they'd play the song. All right. Is my song going to make it in the top 10? It was just a fun time. So that was one of those things.
Long distance dedication.
Oh, yeah. That special someone out there. The Dr. Demento show. Do you remember the old Dr. Demento show?
Demento, yeah. He just retired not too long ago.
I just, no one, like back in those days, no one told me about it. I was just listening to the radio, which I did a lot, and I just came across it. And I'm like, what is this? And that's the first time I ever heard Weird Al Yankovic and the Dead Puppies song. They had all those crazy old songs and what's that? Hello Mother, Hello Father.
Yeah.
Camp Granada, that famous song.
Roly Poly Fish Heads. Remember that one?
Oh, Roly. Yes, I do. Kinko the Clown. That was the one I taped. I started taping it, taking it to school, and kids just loved it. So FCTV, Second City Television, with John Candy and Rick Moranis. I would walk on a Sunday night to my friend's house about 4 miles away, and we'd watch. I think it was maybe SCTV, half an hour SCTV and a half an hour Mighty Python, and I just thought that was the greatest stuff ever. When they were launching those cows over the wall at the castle, I was hooked. I was hooked. Um, this week in baseball, that's something, Vince, as a kid, I just absolutely loved every week. Hopefully my team would be on there. I'd learn about all the players around the league, get to put a face with a name, that kind of thing. Um, NFL films with the great broadcasters, and they made it sound, everything was so dramatic, and they played the music with it. And I think that was a prelude to CBS's pregame show with Phyllis George, where she would do like a musical number over one of the football teams. I remember the 74 football Cardinals, they had There's Got to Be a Morning After, the the Tide Adventure song, because the football Cardinals were a horrible team for many, many years. But in 74, things kind of started to turn around a little bit. So I just kind of remember that. But Vince, I came across something and I was so excited. I sent a message to you, and we usually don't talk during the week. We're both so busy and everything. But I found a podcast I absolutely love. I say it's running neck and neck with ours. That's and the Press Box Chronicles with Jeff Pearlman. And of course, Vince, I can't get nothing past him. I mentioned Jeff Pearlman, and he immediately knew, oh, ain't he the guy that John Rocker wanted to kill? And I said, yes, he is. And these are little 30-minute segments, mainly baseball, but there's a lot of basketball, college basketball. Uh, what else have I seen on there? He did a whole thing on Ricky Bell, who's one of his favorite players that played with Tampa Bay. Upbeat stories, ones about phenomenons like Mark the Bird Fidricks and J.R. Richard. And but my favorite so far, which Vince, I never knew about this. Evidently, there's one called Mesmerized, and George Foster, he tells the story. This guy was a writer for Sports Illustrated, and he wrote down in Nashville, and he's wrote 10 New York Times best-selling books. And I just recommend this podcast. But there was one about the New York Mets of '86 where they wanted to do like a Super Bowl shuffle rap, and George Foster paid for this, and he said it may be the worst piece of music that you'll ever hear. And it had Lenny Dykstra, Doc Gooden, let's see who else was on there. Daryl Strawberry, Rick Aguilera. He said he's the only one that can actually rap, and he said it's hilariously bad. So if you get a chance, watch that podcast. He's got a book out right now about Tupac Shakur. You can tell, and what I like about him, he's a reporter, but he kind of hides himself in the story. He just tells you the facts, shows you a lot of pictures, articles where he highlights the things that he reads on the podcast, and it's just succinct, a lot of insight. He's funny, and it's not G-rated. He uses a few colorful words, but I really like this, and I recommend it to everybody out there. So that's kind of a hidden treasure for everybody out there. Check it out. I'm going to buy his Tupac book because I don't know a whole lot about that, and maybe I'll reach out to him, Vince. You never know. If you don't ask, nothing ever happens, and maybe one day he can come on here and tell us some stories, or do a podcast about our rise and fall from the podcast world or something like that.
A couple things. I don't think Foster finished the '86 season with the Mets.
No,
I
he
think
did
he
not.
finished with the White Sox or something like that.
He, well, Perlman said that he accused the Mets of being
Racist.
yes,
Yes.
yeah, but he was replaced by a fellow African American player, Kevin Mitchell, took his spot in the outfield. So I'm not sure the whole insight and everything, but you're right. I didn't know George Foster ever played for the White Sox. So watching these, I learned a whole lot about just behind the scenes, and the '86 Mets. That's another whole one. The '84 Padres. That is a great half an hour podcast right there. And time flies. You watch it, and then before you know it's over with, you can't believe a half an hour went by.
Hmm. I have to check that out.
Check that out.
I do know that when the rocker thing happened, his defense was, I didn't even have to ask him questions. He just offered this terrible garbage stuff. And, nothing was said off the record or anything. He just started spouting this stuff, called one of his, I think, was it Randall Simon, called him a racist name? Yeah, just
Yes.
like, and um, so then he printed the story, and then Rocker legitimately wanted to kill him because it made him look bad. And he's just doing his job. I used to do a podcast, oh gosh, 2017, 2018, where it was, I would interview local comedians in the St. Louis comedy scene. And there was a comic who owned a comedy club. I'll put that in quotations. I really don't know how much capital he sunk into it because he was always broke. But anyway, I said, "Hey, would you like to be on the podcast?" He said, "Yeah." And he said, "But I'll tell you what questions to ask me." The only comic who did, because I would send them questions beforehand, so I didn't want to catch anybody off guard or anything. It wasn't that kind of a podcast. It was a fluff podcast,
Yeah.
I just want to introduce local comics to the people of St. Louis. So he said, I'll write the questions. Because I said, I'll send you the questions. He says, no, I'll write the questions for you to ask me. I asked every question he wanted, and he said some controversial things about the St. Louis comedy scene. He just basically crapped all over it. And all I did was ask the questions he asked. And that podcast got more listens by far than any other podcast I had. I mean, I was pretty new to the comedy community and I really hadn't branched into St. Louis much. I was mostly doing the Metro East stuff. And all of a sudden, I have people sending me messages, people putting comments on this thing that I'm like, I didn't know these people even knew I existed. And so this guy actually, the next week when I went to open mic, because he owned a comedy club, he kind of got onto me for making them look bad. I asked the freaking questions you did. You told me to ask. How am I going to make you look bad?
Oh my
So
gosh.
I know what he went through to a much lesser degree. But when your job is a reporter to write something and your subject is so dumb, he doesn't realize that, I guess, that he's just going to go out and spout racist and all kinds of homophobic stuff and just trash New York City and everything. And then you blame it on the writer? I
Yeah.
don't
He
like John
he asked him
Rock.
if he could tape him, and he said, "Yeah." So he had it on tape, and he still has those tapes to this day. And he said, "If
Oh,
you like,
really?
I will birth this so everyone can hear what you said." And he's not heard anything back since then. It's quieted down. But if you watch that thing, he goes through it step by step, and uh, his agent thought it would be a good idea because hey, Rocker's kind of got a bad rap, and he's really a good guy, and you'll meet him. And he said he doesn't try to be a friend. He just states the facts. This is who this guy is. This is who he is. And he wished him well. He said, sometimes when you're a young player, he approached the big leagues like Hulk Hogan, like it's me versus all of you, and I'm putting on a show. But he said maybe as he got older, he had some insight and realized, man, I was an idiot, or somewhere along the way, he goes, I hope so, but I think he kind of doubted it. But
Yeah,
that John Rocker one, because he asked if you have anybody you want me to talk about or cover, let me know. And I guess everybody wanted to hear the John Rocker story and all that. So one of the best things was he didn't want to hide from him, and he was sent down to Atlanta for something, and he spent 90% of the time in the other team's locker room, and he knew I got to go over there. And when he went over there, Rocker confronted him, and it got pretty heated. But he was doing his job. And I give him credit for that because I may avoid John Rocker's a lot bigger than he was.
Oh
He was a
yeah,
little skinny fella, and Rocker was huge.
Rocker was a big guy. He was jacked up. He was probably on roids. And yeah, I don't mean to be mean, but the guy's got a 10-cent brain.
He,
And there are just some people who are not blessed with brains, like me. Some people who are not blessed with
well,
brains, but at least I know my limits. I'm not out there,
yeah,
but there are some people who cannot wait to expose their ignorance and their stupidity. And when they do, they're surprised that, oh, what? Doesn't everybody love me? Yeah. No, no, those are terrible things to say. So, anyway,
yeah. And he was a heck of a player. And usually you don't even know these folks. I mean, they say, "Hey, what were you thinking?" And hey, what? And your pitcher pitched a heck of a game. You really don't get to know the guy, but they did a whole story on him because I guess people wanted to know, and then that let the cat out of the bag. So sometimes it's just better to be quiet, just be bland.
uh, winter meetings have kicked off, and John
Oh
Rocker's not been invited.
no,
Um, but winter meetings have kicked off. About an hour before we started recording, we found out that the White Sox won the draft lottery, and they will have the number one pick. And so they'll probably get a light hitting second baseman like they usually do. And
I don't even know the players out there, Vince. As this next season goes by, because they'll be after it, into the season, July perhaps is when the draft is. You'll get to know these college kids, and they're growing still, and who they're going to take. But right now, I really don't know anybody down there. Usually, it's somebody's ex major leaguer's kid. Usually, it's Andrew Jones's kid or Matt Holliday's kid or uh, Vladimir Guerrero's son.
yeah,
So there's a lot of those guys out there. So I have no clue who the top 10 are. And by the way, the Cardinals were in the lottery this year, but they're picking 13th. So we
yeah,
actually dropped
13th.
2 spots.
The
Yeah.
Cubs would be picking 23rd. So
Yeah.
and that doesn't bother me. The Cubs have done a really good job drafting. I'm very pleased with them. They do their homework. Not everything that no ownership group is perfect. But one thing that the Cubs have done is they've put in a good system to where they are really good at evaluating talent. Um, Not quite as caught up on the pitching side as I would like. I mean, they do have their hits. They have, they've Cade Horton, for example. But there's been I shouldn't say misses on the pitching side, um, because injuries happen with pitchers more frequently than position players, and pitching is a lot more iffy than developing a hitter.
I agree.
I've been pretty pleased with how the Cubs have done with that. And 13th is, I'm sure the Cardinals already know these are the players we expect to be
Available.
available
Yeah.
with that pick, and this is who we like. So um, I'm sure they've already thought, well, if we're picking here, these are who we like. If we're like in this group of 5 through 9, this is who we like. So I'm sure that they've all done their homework, except for the Pirates, and the Rockies.
Oh, the Rockies. Bless their heart.
Some transactions. Cleveland signed right-handed pitcher Connor Brogdon. He was really good with the Phillies a few years ago. Last season, he was with the Los Angeles Angels, and he had a really down year. So I guess Cleveland, with their success in pitching, see something that they like in him. Otherwise, if it would have been just anybody else picking this guy, I thought I would do it. But I will keep an eye on him to see if Cleveland can get him on the right track. The Dodgers re-signed Miguel Rojas, and then they signed Edwin Diaz to $69 million. So now they kind of have like 3 or 4 closers on this team.
I know. I've seen a lot of videos of Met fans just losing it today. I feel sorry for him. They got money though. That is a lot of money to give a reliever. Who knows what's going to happen? A lot of the pitchers got hurt last year. Um, I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, Vince. It just seems crazy. They just kind of in there, just their roster's just star-studded, man.
Yeah. Uh, Today, Kyle Schwarber re-signed with the Phillies, 5 years, 150 million. I never thought that Pittsburgh was serious. I
Yeah.
shouldn't say serious. They knew he wasn't going to come. I thought that was depressing. Hey, we offered him 4 years, 120 million, but he doesn't want to go to Pittsburgh. Why would anybody want to go to Pittsburgh? You know? So you want to impress me, Pittsburgh? Spend that 120 million on a few really good players and try to improve your team. Um, but I will bet my second born, Evelyn, who would be an asset to any other family. I will bet Evelyn that the Pirates do not spend 120 million in the free agent market this year. I just did not believe that was ever.
I think they're just trying to send a message to the fans. Hey, look, we're trying.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. It's a PR
Schwarber, I
thing.
don't know if I mean, that would be an upgrade, of course, but I don't know if that's if he just is the missing piece of that puzzle. I mean, he's a guy. He doesn't really play the field anymore, but man, he lights it up. He's an electrifying player. You can't go to the bathroom or get up and go get popcorn when he's up. I mean, he's just one of those guys you want to see at bat because he'll go in there and battle. But I think Philadelphia is the perfect place for him. He's not. I know he was a Cubby and he's played some other places, but he's kind of a piece of that team now for a little while, and I'd like to see him finish his career there. As a baseball fan, I respect that.
Yeah, I kind of thought they would end up putting a package together for him. He fits their organization very well. They figured out what to do with him when other organizations, the Cubs, the Nationals, the Red Sox, really, you know, where do we? I guess he's a power hitter. We'll, hit him here. And the Phillies said, hey, just go out, take your walks like you do. You got a great eye, swing hard, don't care about the batting average. You just be that power threat at the top of the lineup that teams are going to fear. And he's thrived doing that. And he's also a really nice guy. I've always been impressed with him. Uh, I only mentioned this because the Cubs had him. This was our trade deadline acquisition, aside from uh, was a oh gosh, I can't remember the infielder's name we got from Minnesota, Willie Castro. Yeah. Our other big free or trade deadline splash was Mike Soroka, which caused me to have a rant on here. And he made one start for the Cubs, went on the IL, and then I think he pitched once in relief, like the last game, second to last game or something. So he signed a 1 year deal with the Diamondbacks. Okay. World Baseball Classic editions. We have Schwarber, who's going to play on the team. Bryce Turang has announced he will play on the team. Gunnar Henderson and Will Smith, and they joined Mike Judge. That's the guy who did Beavis and Butthead. I was talking to Kathy about Beavis and Butthead today, and so I got Mike Judge, Aaron Judge, PCA, Paul Skeens, Corbin Carroll, Bobby Wood Jr., and Cal Raleigh.
I
So
heard I heard one other name, and Vince, this kind of worries me. On the internet, you'll see these articles, and then you go check it somewhere else, and it's not true. Like there was an article the Cubs signed a pitcher, Zach Gallen. There was it was a famous person. It was their name, and it said Zach Gallen to the Cubs for 3 years, and then Jeff Passan came and said, no, there's no truth in that whatsoever. So I'm worried. Sometimes I hear things, but I heard Matthew Boyd of the Cubs was going to be the second pitcher on the World Baseball Classic team. Have you heard anything about that?
yeah, I don't think it's official. I think he's
Oh,
expressed interest, but
okay,
I don't think it's gone beyond that. Um, he's not officially announced yet. I mean,
okay.
maybe he will be within the next few days, but yeah, and the Zach Gallen thing, I'm gonna get into that when I do the Cub things, but It's for some reason. I mean, it's a pardon my French. It's a dick swinging contest for reporters to be the first one to break a story, and sometimes they'll jump on something that you know they've been talking, and then they will. Oh, you think there's? Oh yeah, he's going to sign a 3-year deal. Maybe they heard it from the janitor or somebody, and they put the report out. That happens all the time now. I I don't sit there and look at a report and see, oh my gosh, Kyle Schwarber signed for 5 years. Who was the first one to break this? That's my
Yeah.
hero. I don't care who broke it first. If it's true within 20 minutes, everybody's going to know anyway. So, whatever.
You're right.
Oh, you need to talk more, man. I'm like in a bad mood. So,
No, Vince, you're very entertaining. You're on it tonight. I'm like, hey, he's on fire. I'm dancing around the fire. I warm my hands every once in a while, that kind of thing. Vince, there was a couple other moves, and Tampa Bay has made a few moves. They got since we were last met, they got Cedric Mullins for a 1-year deal, and I think that's a good pickup for them. Not long ago, he was a 30-30 guy, and I always thought he was just a really good player. He's getting up there in the years now, but he added, and they went out and got Steven Matz, who played with a 2-year contract. I think he's a solid pitcher. That's the kind of guy that I would like to see the Cardinals. I know we had him. I thought, well, maybe we can get him back. But a guy who could fill the number 3 spot, give you 140 to 160 innings, keep you in the games. Because as I'll go on later about our pitching staff and the spot they're in right now, our starting rotation, it is young and very lean. So a guy like that would be a guy I would love to see the Cardinals get to just eat up some innings and stick around and be a good teammate and work with the young players. So I like those deals. And there was a name that caught my eye, Vaughn Grissom, who was with Atlanta, but he got traded to the Angels. He was the guy that when Darby Swanson left, he was going to be the guy that came in and was going to be the next shortstop there, and it's never worked out. So this will be his second team since he left Atlanta, and I wish him all the luck. I don't know the guy he got traded for, and I think there was one. The Pirates in Boston, Acevedo, who was with the Cardinals for a while. Now he's with Boston, so they went out and got Sonny Gray and Acevedo. And Acevedo, since he's been to Pittsburgh, he's become a better pitcher. I think he's probably, I'm not disrespecting him, but a number 4 major league pitcher. I'll take that any day. But he's become pretty good. So there was a 5-player swap there, and that's I don't know if the Pirates came out better, but he was one of their better pitchers. Well, I'm lying. He was their most veteran pitcher. How's that, Vince? I'm thinking about the Pirates rotation right now, and he is one of them. But he was the veteran guy on that team. They're led by, of course, by Gaines and Bubba Chandler. They've got Keller. I mean, they've got some killer young pitchers over there. So anyway, they picked up some Boston players. And the other thing, Vince, one thing I noticed, this was a big story, Major League Baseball, because a lot of teams are having trouble with their local, where you find them and to watch them and everything. They signed a 3-year deal with ESPN, NBC, and Netflix. So for the next 3 years, I like that baseball's going back to NBC. I remember, man, they had some great broadcasters long ago. So we'll get to see some games. And I think the Sunday night game now will be an NBC game instead of the ESPN that's had it for all these years. And baseball is actually, the viewership was up this year. And game 7 of the World Series was the highest rated game in 34 years. Would you care? Now, Vince, I know. Vince doesn't know I'm going to ask questions. And so I'm going to ask you, 34 years ago, do you know the game that was higher rated? It had over 50 million people watching it. That was higher rated than this one. He'll know it, or he'll be right there.
91. 91 was the Braves and the Twins.
Yes. Game 7. You're exactly right. I call that the Jack Morris game where he went 10
Yeah.
complete. He went 10 game complete game, won the game, won the Jack Morris
The
right there.
great pitching performance, and without that game, Jack Morris, I don't think is a Hall of Famer. Uh, he was borderline, but that game
Yeah,
put him over. And that's sometimes, there's sometimes we get so wrapped up in stats,
we do.
it's like the Mattingly Koufax thing. People say, well, they each only had a 6-year peak, and Mattingly's not in the Hall of Fame. Koufax is. Koufax had signature moments in big times. Mattingly, I don't even think he ever made it to the postseason,
Never made the
and that
postseason.
does matter. I mean, it does matter if you perform in the postseason. By golly, it raises your, yeah.
Oh,
Ron Santo had just the same career as Brooks Robinson, but Brooks Robinson was in the World Series just about every other year for about a 10-year stretch, and Santo never made it to the postseason. So Santo finally gets in with the Veterans Committee with the same stats, and I know Robinson had more Gold Gloves, but Santo was the best defensive third baseman in the National League for the 60s. So it does matter. Postseason does matter. And Jack Morris, that was his signature game, 10 inning shut. Now, if he went on to have a 20 and 34 career record and just had one lucky game, yeah, he's not going to make the Hall of Fame. But he did have that signature moment that made a very good career stand out. And that's why I'm okay with him being in there,
you're
because
right.
it does matter when you perform like that. It's like, was Reggie Jackson the best baseball player ever? No. But Reggie Jackson in October became a legend. I mean, what's the difference between Reggie Jackson and Ted Kluzinski? They were both big, powerful guys. Well, Jackson had his moments in the postseason and became a legend.
He did. Jack Morris. So I think of the eight when I first knew who he was. It was the '84 year where the Tigers just went on like a 13-5 run at the beginning of the year, and he threw a no hitter on a Saturday game of the week. And I was like, who is this guy? And from then, I was kind of always had an eye on Jack Morris. And of course, then they just walked through the playoffs and the World Series that year, and he was their ace. So I always think of him then, and then that was man, that was another little something on top of the pie right there. I was like, golly. And he played a long time. But you're right, Vince. It's moments like that that you just can't forget. The Jeter diving into the stands and throwing that ball over there and getting the guy at the home plate. Jeter had so many of those moments. And again, you're right. It was in the postseason. And Jeter was in the postseason almost every year and winning world championships and just being a heck of a ball player and great stats anyway. He wasn't a borderline guy, but I just use that for an example. But then
Yeah.
you had David Freese, who came up. We wouldn't have won the World Series without David Freese that year. But other than that, he was just a good player, a good major league player. But those make him a legend right there.
Yeah. Back to your original point before we went off on the Jack Morris
Yeah,
tangent.
I got fired up.
A year ago, ESPN couldn't wait to get rid of baseball because it wasn't bringing in any viewers. They were focusing on basketball. ESPN wasn't doing spending a whole lot of time talking about, the Major League Baseball season games anymore. Everything had been basketball, football, basketball, football. And then this year, when viewership just went straight through the roof, suddenly ESPN says, "Hey, we'll take over again."
Yeah.
So now they've got this huge share of the pie, and I do like that. I do like the. I let me put it this way: if they do it right, I like the games on Netflix. Um, I don't like how Peacock did the games, and I think YouTube did a few games. I didn't like how that happened, but if they do the production right, I'm okay with Netflix having a few of the games during the season. Uh, but I agree with you that, and this is why I don't think there's going to be a lockout, because it's just in too good a shape right now. Everybody's making their money. Everybody's making their money. And I know it pisses people off that the Dodgers do defer payments and that there's no salary cap. And I'm more angry that there's not a salary floor.
I'm
That's
with you.
that's what we need. Because my theory is every team needs to have some star that they can pay to give people reason to go to the ballpark. And it's like Pittsburgh. When Paul Skeens pitches, the attendance is up. Every team, even the bad ones, needs, we talked about Randy Johnson last week, passed away. And for a couple of years, he was maybe the best pitcher in the National League. And it gave people a reason to go see these bad San Diego Padre teams because, hey, Randy Jones is going to pitch.
You said it just right. Production. I watched the old 70s and 80s, and I can't believe how far the production has come in the ball game. And I'm not big about the sideline reporter talking to the coach during the game. I mean, they do things every once in a while, like mic up a player. I love that. I love that. Now the player's got to be careful what he says or anything like that, but I absolutely love that. The different camera work, but they still make it give it a regional charm to it. You know, you show the city, and I don't. There's just a charm, but it seems like they're promoting the star players more. There's usually something at the beginning. Even the World Series, they were playing some great. I mean, I couldn't believe the great music they were playing as the players walked by with the bat, or they're holding the bat out, or they're stretching or something, and you're like, "Oh, this is great." And they talked about them a lot, and you just get to know the players, and really that brings the young fans into it. Oh, I know who Tyler Glass now is. I know who, all these players are. Bryce Terang, just guys that normally don't get a whole lot of airplay, but when they're on the game of the week, you really emphasize a player on that team. So the production, go back and just watch the 90s. It looks so grainy. And I mean, me and Vince, we're diehards. We'll find charm in just a radio broadcast, but just for your average fan, I think it's much more enjoyable. The game's faster. I was not against a clock and speeding the game up, but the way they've done it, I'll admit I was wrong. I think the average fan, fantasy baseball's played into this. Vince, I think you're right. They can't. It took so long. Baseball went through some tough stretches there, and we had the steroids came out of the one strike and all that. And now baseball's in a pretty good spot. And I liked, it's fun having the Dodgers around because it's always everybody wants to beat that team now. We're going to show them, we're going to give us our best. So it's like the evil empire out there, which used to be the Yankees in my book. So anyway, it's just I'm with you. I hope they don't strike. I think there's still a chance, but I hope they just don't screw this up because things are going so good. And man, I'd really miss it if they do.
Yeah, most stories, books, and movies that are the most compelling, they have a villain, you
They
know.
do.
Sometimes it's a mild villain, but a
Yeah.
villain can complete a story. And uh, I hate the Dodgers. They're the villain, but I know it's good for baseball right now because it's good to have a villain. I hated the Patriots, but they were the villain, so I
They
yeah
were good.
want to see him get beat. It's like Ric Flair. He was the villain. We want to see him get beat.
He
So
was odd. He could go to one part of the country, they hated him. Yeah. You go to another part of the country, they just loved him. You go to North Carolina, he's a legend. It's hey Ric Flair, get him. So it depends on where you're at, who he was fighting. But he was a unique cat. He was the most popular and the most hated at the same time.
that Harley race in Kansas City, he could go anywhere and didn't have to pay for his meal. He was so loved, and he always played the baby face in the Kansas City promotion, which he was part owner of. But when he went out of the Kansas City area, he was a villain everywhere else. But in Kansas City, he's one of ours. That's
Oh
right.
yeah, that's right. That is right.
Uh,
Woo, good one there.
we started talking about the Hall of Fame. We did have one addition to the Hall of Fame, and a very smart gentleman named JJ Jackson called this. Uh,
I
Jeff
think you did too. You did too, Vince.
Jeff Kent went to the Hall of Fame,
Yes.
and we both like Carlos Delgado, and he got pretty close. He had 9 of the votes, and I think he needed, a few more votes to get in. But Bonds and Clemens were not even close. And I was reading a lot about this, and one guy was saying, "Yeah, this is another reason why we shouldn't have writers picking the Hall of Fame." So someone else corrected him and said, "This isn't the writers; these are predominantly Hall of Fame players." I think there's a committee of 15, and I think
16.
nine of them are retired
Oh,
players who are Hall of Famers, including Ozzie Smith. There's a few former GMs, and there's a few media type people in there, but it's predominantly these former All Stars. And I think this was a resounding, we don't like the way you played the game. And on top of that, you know, Bonds has had the allegations from a few women that he was physically abusive. Clemens had a relationship with Mindy McCready that started when she was 15, but you know, she said, "Well, we didn't start having sex till I was of age," you know, and then she killed herself. So I don't. They're kind of not just for the steroids. They're just not nice. They've made their enemies. I'll put it that way. So, which is a shame because they were Hall of Fame players without the juice. They were, you know. Um, but anyway, congratulations to Jeff Kent.
Vince, you said that so well. There was nine veterans that voted on this. Now there were 16 people on this panel, but they can only vote for three. Three. They only got three votes. They can only pick three. Normally, the writers could put as many as 10 votes out there for in the Hall of Fame. So they went through that Hall of Fame vote, didn't get it. They go into this, and the veterans were Fergie Jenkins, Jim Codd, Juan Marichal, Tony Perez, Ozzie Smith, Alan Trammell, and Robin Yount. That's a who's who of great major league players from all over the league. A lot of these guys played with Bonds, and they didn't vote, and they got. A matter of fact, I heard that in 2031 they can come back around in the Veterans Committee and be voted on one more time. But if they don't make it that time, it's over with. The steroid era, the top names of the steroid era won't. They're not getting in. So they got one more chance in 2031. Maybe things will be different then. Maybe people will feel sorry for them. But you're right, Vince. Before their head physically got bigger and their bodies got huge, these were very good players. Roger Clemens, I collected his rookie cards because like he was one of the few guys that just came into the league and was wiping people out. Now, sometimes he wasn't I remember one time Piazza hit cracked his bat. And he threw the one into the bat at him. I was like, what the heck is that all about? Clemens, he was a fierce competitor, but he wasn't a nice guy. As it found out later when he said, before they went in and investigated him, he had a squeaky clean image, and that was the wrong choice for him to do because they found out everything but that. Bonds, I, I don't think anybody got along with him on any of his teams or in college, but he was a heck of a talent. And these guys were rewarded for doing steroids. They broke all these sacred records. Their names are on the top or near the top of almost every statistic. They made tons of money that the older players didn't even think about making that kind of money. And to be honest with you, it hurt people like Fred McGriff, who had a nice career, but he didn't do as good as Kastenko and Bonds and all these other guys. He was good, but he wasn't that good. So I think that it skewed what was the level of a Hall of Famer at that time period. And people like Fred McGriff had to wait around a while. He was obviously a Hall of Famer, and no one's ever thought anything. I mean, he's got nothing but people just praise Fred about what a good ambassador of the game he was and a superstar player. So anyway, but that's just the way it rolls. And I want to congratulate Jeff Kent, but they talk about all the home runs he hit. And we may have talked about these stats before, but he had a long career. He's fourth all time out of second basemen in doubles. We talked about the top in home runs. He's 13th all time in hits for a second baseman. Walks 10th and batting average. He's 12th all time. But with Jeff Kent getting in, now we can look over and look at people like Lou Whitaker. Because I think Lou Whitaker, Vince, one year I could see him on the ballot. And if Kent's in, because you compare, Whitaker is ahead of him in some things and behind him. And of course, home runs, he didn't have that kind of power, but he stole bases, world champion, long career, great defensive, better defensive player than Jeff Kent. So I one day would like to see Lou Whitaker get another shot at the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, and if I was a GM, who would I rather have, Kent or Whitaker? I'd rather have Whitaker. He was a
Me
more
too.
complete player. He
Agreed.
wasn't quite the hitter that Kent was, but defensively, complete player. He steals some bases. Whitaker, one of his issues was he's such a introverted guy. Um, Never liked giving interviews or anything. And his his common double play combination mate, Alan Trammell,
Yeah.
he was kind of a personable guy, and even though they had very similar careers, Trammell makes it and Whitaker's kind of overlooked. So I just hope it's something where, I think he's deserving to get in, and I hope it happens before he passes away. I do not like the Ron Santos syndrome of, well, he's dead now, let's put him in. Why? So he can enjoy it from the afterlife? I don't know.
Dick
But
Allen this year, and then we had Dave Parker knew he was going in, you
yeah,
know. But it is what 10 years. It's 5 years after your career is over. So if you're somebody like George Blanda, you better hurry up and get in. He played till he was in his 53 years old or something in the NFL.
so uh, Sonny Gray made the news this week when he went to Boston saying he never wanted to play for the Yankees. And then the story broke that Cashman said, "You said you wanted to play for the Yankees." He said, "Well, yeah, I said it, but I didn't really mean it because my agent told me to say it because it would look good." I just kind of thought it was a little funny. Like,
Hey,
eh, obviously, he did not like playing for the Yankees. He did not like living in New York. As he said, what did he do? He just stayed in his hotel room all day long. He had nothing to do. That just And that's probably what I would do in New York. I would have no interest in going out to such a large, huge city, and I'd probably just stay in my hotel room and whatever. But I just thought that was kind of a funny. It almost reminded me of two little kids.
you get a
You're
little behind the
stupid.
scenes.
Your nose is too big. Well,
Well, Vince,
your tooth's crooked.
if you were major league, if you got a chance to be in the major leagues and you can't be in Chicago and I can't be in St. Louis, just knowing the teams, their history, the cities, what there is to do, what city would you like to play in? Where would you like to play? What
Oh,
would be a
that's easy. That I Kansas City.
Kansas City?
I,
I think
I loved living there.
I've never been to this place, but everything about it looks great. San Diego. On Sundays, they got the Marines out there in the outfield for their home games. The ocean's there. There's so many things to do. I thought San Diego would be a great place to
See,
play.
I'm not a beach guy.
You're not a beach guy?
I don't like the feel of sand. I don't like sweating. I have noticed I went to Florida, oh, I don't know, 25 years ago to go to Disney World. And then I didn't go back until Tabitha lived there. And I didn't go visit her when she lived there, but she was moving back home. So I went down there and spent some time there. My other kids were little at that time. And to me, it's like you go down there and you sweat until it rains on you, and then it quits raining and you sweat some more. It's like living on a giant sandbar. I've never liked Florida. I've never liked the ocean. I do like going to like Maine, you know,
Yeah,
which isn't beachy, but there's an ocean there, but it's not like humid and sweaty type stuff going on there.
that's
I
fair.
like I liked Kansas City. I also I loved Minneapolis. My ex-wife is from Minneapolis. I visited there many times, but I would not want to live there in the winter because it just gets too dadgum cold and snowy
Yeah,
there. So
man.
I liked Kansas City. So yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
do
Oh, that's a
that.
good answer. And barbecue, great barbecue.
Barbecue, yeah, and it's
Oh,
still
yeah.
got a small town feel.
You're right. It sure
Like
does.
I would be driving in the city and I'd take a left turn, and next thing I know, oh, there's cows everywhere now, which is just kind of a
That's
different. But I'm a Midwestern guy from the Metro East of St. Louis. So I kind of like that smaller town blue collar type thing. So
Oh yeah, that's a great answer, man. Yeah, I never thought about that. That's a good spot.
hmm. uh, I also want to add nobody died this week.
Oh,
No,
all
nobody.
right. That's a good week right there. All right.
I do want to add this because I did have someone a few months ago ask me, "Why do you do obituaries?" And I why did we do obituary? You started it. You like one of our first
Yeah.
broadcasts said so and so died, and we just kind of kept up with it. And I kind of like doing that because I don't know anybody else who really is looking back when a player dies and says, "Hey, this person passed away." And sometimes they haven't had a tremendous career, but if someone just has a cup of coffee, I don't include them in the obituaries. But if someone played a few years, or had a big moment or something like that, I like to include them in the obituaries. It's like the outfielder for the Cubs who passed away last week that I talked about, and now his name's escaping me. He really only had one really good season with the Cubs, like 27 home runs, 95 RBIs, but it was in 1961. The team wasn't good. Nobody remembers him. But man, that guy, he started out in the Negro Leagues, and you don't find very many players still alive in the Negro Leagues. I wanted to give him a little bit of notoriety because some of these players do pass away in obscurity, and you think, wait, I remember he had like a moment, or he had a couple really good seasons. I just think that there's some quality in talking about that. They wasn't like, what do you do that for? It's a waste of time. It's like, what got you doing that? Well, JJ started it, and then I just started looking every week to see if anyone had died, and just kind of became a thing.
Yeah. This podcast sort of morphs. We try things. Sometimes we're like, what was that about? And it moves on in little segments. But we can't get Jason Giambi to come in and set for us for 20 minutes or anything. So a lot of our stuff is a lot of the past, the history of the game and this. And Vince doesn't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what he's going to say. And sometimes when we bring up a player, it's great to honor them. And maybe somebody out there didn't know much about them. Or I'll get an email later saying, "Oh, I remember that guy. One thing he signed my program for me, or this or that." So when I say something to Vince, I have no clue where he's going to go. And he usually has some great memories or a story or two. And I love that. That's just like running into an old friend and like, hey, by the way, what do you think of these new turbo bats? And the next thing you know, 20 minutes later, we're off on something completely different. We're talking about the Muppets or something. But that's
It's like BB Richards. I know we make jokes about him, but as a kid, I remember BB Richards because he had such a hard time performing. And by golly, he was a major league player and played parts of like 4 or 5 seasons, which I would kill for.
oh yeah.
I doubt if anybody outside of our podcast listeners really even have heard of BB Richards, but we keep his legacy alive.
That's right. There, there you go.
BB
All right.
Richards right
There is
there.
75 BB Richards. I think there's one other card you don't have, and I'm gonna find it for you of all three. The Holy Trinity of BB Richards right
Oh
there.
my God. Then I'll make something for that. So
I have a little holder for three cards. I just didn't have it on me. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna find that extra one. That extra one. Well, we talk about Al Oliver. Al Oliver's one of our favorite players, Tony Pruno. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And one day, by God, we're going to help with our help. We'll get him in that Hall of Fame. Just pointing a spotlight on him. He doesn't need any other help. If you just take a take a look at his stats, compare him to other players, his time period. He was a big influence in the game. I'm a big Al Oliver fan, and he's supposed to be coming to a card show, and I think it's in January. I'll find out, but I'm definitely going up there. I'm going to ask him if he'll cut a little promo for the front of the thing and just tell him we talk about him all the time and get some things signed by him. But Vince, I'm telling the story now, and I forgot why I even got it started. But Al Oliver, ladies and gentlemen, Al Oliver. But that's what this is about, us just rehashing the history of the game, and maybe people forgot things and how this is connected to that. Or one of my favorite things is how about trade Like, how did the Cardinals end up with Adam Wainwright? Or how did, JD Drew, that trade still live into this? Well, just till a couple of years ago, the moves that we got when we had Drew, got rid of him in a trade, that move went for years and years and years. And a lot of people didn't even realize that, this player became that player and so forth and all that. So anyway, Vince, I'm sorry I rambled on there. I don't know what my point was, but thank you for listening.
Well, in the words of that great philosopher, that great English philosopher, Robert Plant, ramble on.
Ramble on. I remember the laughter. Remember that? Do you remember the laughter?
Uh,
Vince, I got a thing here. One thing I want to, a little tip of the cap. We have a lot of our listeners. I was going to say fans, but they're not really fans. They put up with us. Our listeners are Milwaukee Brewer fans, and they were voted by Baseball America the organization of the year. It's the 5th time they've won that award, more than any other team. Uh, it was established in 1982, so it's a fairly, in my book, a newer award. But just it's to pay homage to the scouting, the coaching, and just the integrity of the team. They were organization of the year 85, 86, 87, 2010, and 2025. So, and then of course, Pat Murphy, their manager, was manager of the year this year. So, good things in Milwaukee. I know they're a rival to the Cubs and the Cardinals, but once I get past that and I can stand back and look, that's just a top-notch organization for a medium, small city, and they got pretty far this year. It took the evil empire to knock them out, but they gave them up. They got pretty far this year.
do you remember Jim Hanifin?
Oh, yes. Matter of fact, I've got a story about Hannafin, but yes, one of the greatest offensive line coaches.
Yeah, Jim Hanifin had a stint as the head coach for the St. Louis Football Cardinals and was not good as the head coach. But everywhere he went as an offensive line coach, he was the best. Even into the 90s when he was an old man, he was with the Rams team that won the Super Bowl. And what Hanifin was known for was not getting great linemen, but coaching people up, called coaching up in football. Um, Making a guy who nobody thought much of, like Conrad Dobler or Tom Banks, uh, Bob Young, and making them much better to where they were a cohesive unit. And that's kind of what I think of the Brewers as. They're like Jim Hanifin. They coach everybody up to where they're playing far above their expectations, and the 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 whole is much greater than the parts. And that happens in football with line coaches. You don't see it happen in baseball too much. Usually, team with the most talent is going to win, and that does hold true. Because they can't get past the Dodgers in the playoffs, because the Dodgers just overwhelmed them with talent. But you know, when you talk about how when Bum Phillips would talk about Don Shula, he said he can take hisms and beat yoursins, or he could take yoursins and beat hisms. He, he the talent was a little secondary because he knew how to coach winning football teams, and the Brewers just know how to run an organization that produces wins. And that apparently goes from the parking lot attendants all the way up to the vice presidents. They make everybody feel like that they are an important person in this organization, and the little things like that build. And it's just a top-notch organization, well deserved.
I agree. I agree. Very good. And we're going to go back this year, but I've been 4 games up there and I absolutely love it. Classy, clean, everybody's nice. That area of the country is known for how nice everyone is, and you couldn't find nicer folks. So yeah, I good for them. But next year, come on, Cardinals, let's pick up our game and win that thing.
Speaking of the Cardinals, is there any news coming out of St. Louis?
Oh, a few things. we picked up the Cardinals claimed Zach Kent from Cleveland, and Cleveland's good at with pitchers and everything. He's a 27-year-old. He was only 1-0 last year with a 4.58, but they seen something they like in him. He got 16
Yeah,
strikeouts and
undefeated.
yeah, he's undefeated. That's right.
Man, they
Yeah,
would want an undefeated pitcher.
that's right. But well, we have some people now in our organization that work with Cleveland, and specifically the pitchers. So sometimes I remember, I always think of Dallas Green and Ryan Sandberg came over to Chicago from Philadelphia, and when he made that move, hey, throw in that Ryan Sandberg guy, and then he became a legend. So I'm hoping that Heim Bloom with the Red Sox, because we've made some couple moves with the Red Sox now, and our whoever's working with us from Cleveland, maybe they can find some hidden gems that they say, wait a minute, this guy has something to him. So you never know, this guy might just, we may never see the light of day in the majors, but you never know. So they must know a little something there. And the Cardinals, it's sad to say, I never thought I'd see this, but this will be the first year that they will receive some revenue sharing. Their attendance has been down, um, payroll, all that stuff. So the Cardinals, I don't know how that works, but we're going to get from the people that get whatever it is, tax or whatever for going
Look,
over a certain limit.
yeah.
We're some of the sisters of the poor now. We're going to get some of that money, so maybe we can put it to good use. But I never thought I'd see that, and our television revenue too. There's been about 13 teams that's having problems with local television, and the Cardinals were one of those teams, and I think they really got hurt with their TV deal. They were one of those teams, so I think that played part of it right there. Vince, last week you asked me, who are the Cardinals rotation? I said, Vince, that's a great question. I don't think they even know. And as of right now, it looks like McCreevy, who, Vince, he's very young. Last year was the first time he got up to the majors. He did great, but I really don't think you could, put a lot on him. I mean, this kid, he's got a lot of moxie. I like the way he pitches and everything. But Matthew Liberatore, who's actually still a young guy, Palante, who kind of faded at the end of last year, Kyle Leahy, who did a great job in our bullpen, and the Cardinal. I'm all about, if you got a good arm and you got a rotation, and these guys want to get taste of the majors, sometimes give them a couple years in the bullpen. Lance Lynn was one of those guys. Adam Wainwright was one of those guys that came up, went in the bullpen, and later became very good starters. So Kyle Leahy's going to get a shot, and they in the organization, they give somebody gave out these weird stats, don't mean a thing. They give him a 55% chance of making the rotation. And right now, there's hardly anybody out there on the team. And then Richard Fitz, this new guy we got from Boston, is the front runner. But this winter, I think they're going to make some moves. And when we get to the last segment, I'll talk more about our rotation. But there is a couple of guys, Quinn Matthews and Liam Doyle, who nowadays, these guys that pitch 4 years in college, I mean, that's a lot of high, you're battle tested. You're out there, especially if you play in the, down there in the Alabama and LSU and Tennessee. That's some top college uh, competition. So some of these guys, it doesn't take long for them to get up to the pros. So maybe some of these guys can rise to the occasion. And I saw a report that Ivan Herrera had surgery, is coming along fine, should be ready when the season starts. There's talk of him catching, but we've got so many. It'd be great to have him as a catcher with that bat, because I do think he's the best hitter we have on our team. And he's kind of blocking the DH position because he can't play any other positions. Maybe a every once in a while catcher, but I see him mainly being a DH right now, but we'll see. And anything else? That's it.
If you get rid of Contreras, could he learn to play first?
Well, like they said in Moneyball, first base catcher, what's the difference? It's easy. It ain't Washington. He goes, it's very hard, It might be. Not everybody can do it, but I'm sure he's such an athlete that he could. And there is talk of Contreras maybe waiving his no trade and and going somewhere where he's got a shot to, you know, do good in the postseason.
Oh,
But that's not.
I see him in the same boat as Arenado. That um, I signed here to be with a contender you're rebuilding, and I will waive a no trade clause for the right situation. And I see Contreras in that same boat. Nothing against Contreras or Arenado, nothing against the Cardinals because they certainly didn't see themselves, kind of ending up here. But I do see them saying, "Hey, I'm not getting any younger. I'd like,
Yeah.
Contreras has won a World Series. Arenado has not had much playoff at all. Yeah, I could see the Cardinals saying, "Yeah, we will try to get you in a better situation because this is not what you came here for. We realize that." And I think the Cardinals are upfront enough as an organization to tell their players that, listen, we're going through a rebuilding phase here. You're welcome to stay here, but if you want to leave, we understand.
Vince,
So
one of the things with the Cardinals, I have to say, I've kind of been looking at this for a long time. And when do you get rid of your team favorites? When do you get rid of them? And for a long time, we would get veterans and plug them in, and nice ones maybe at the kind of over the hump of their best years. But we would get good Lance Berkman, and I could go on and on, Carlos Beltran, and they plugged them in and they did good. And I think we might have kept, because this happened to the Celtics. I think we held on to Pujols, Molina, and Wainwright maybe at 2 or 3 years, a little too long, but we loved them. And as fans, you want to see these guys ride off into the sunset as Cardinals, and that's good. But they leave this gaping hole that we couldn't quite get out of because we got Goldschmidt and Arenado and Sonny Gray, and um, we got that Cleveland bullpen guy, Andrew Miller, but he just didn't have it anymore. But it just didn't work. It finally came to a screeching halt, and I think that's where we're at right now. So there's kind of a dynamic there. You love these guys, and you went like Stan the Man in 1963 was not the same Stan the Man he was his first 12 years, but you want to say this is our guy, and he played his whole career here. So unfortunately, we had three guys, well, two for sure, that kind of went way too long and stuck around. But I think they deserve it. As a fan, you say no, they deserve it. We want them here, but now we're here, so we got to dig ourselves out of this hole, and maybe sooner than later we're back in the hunt again.
very
Thank
good.
you. Thank
I'm
you.
not going to talk a lot about the Cubs. I'm just going to say this. I do not want Zach Gallen or Alex Bregman. I don't want them. I am tired as a Cub fan of reclamation projects, players who don't profile well in Wrigley Field, players who are clearly on a downward trajectory of their careers. I don't want those people because, well, we can shave a few dollars here. Isaac Paredes, great year in Houston last year till he got injured. Great with Tampa Bay, could not hit in Wrigley Field. Extreme pull hitter. He cannot hit a ball out of left field at 355 versus 330. That extra 25 feet killed his. He didn't profile to Wrigley Field, and neither does Alex Bregman. Bregman, the reason he has power numbers is because he's played in Houston, which has a left field porch that's about 100 feet from home plate, and he played in Boston last year, infamous for how short the left field is. He doesn't project well as a player, profile well as a player in Wrigley Field because he's a pull hitter, and he's not going to get 340-foot home runs down the left field line. He's not. So all these rumors that, hey, we may be going to get Alex Bregman. Why? Matt Shaw last year did not have a good year, but he had a really good second half. And not only that, he was a finalist in the Gold Glove. And if it wasn't for Brian Hayes being some sort of an alien out there at third base, Matt Shaw's probably your Gold Glove at third base. I don't care that he didn't have a 700 OPS yet. He will get there. Once he opened up his batting stance, once he got his bad habits of trying to, you know, Once they opened up his batting stance so he could turn on a fastball, he became a viable player. He's still young. He's 24. Alex Bregman is 32. Alex Bregman is going to want 4 or 5 years. There's no reason to get him. And I am sick and tired of hearing Cub fans say, we need a third baseman. Okay, you want a third baseman? If there's a 26-year-old third baseman that's a stud available, okay, go get him. There's not. Matt Shaw's your best option. Zach Gallen is trending down. His ERA last year was 4.85. 3 years ago, he was third or fourth in Cy Young. He has steadily gotten worse every year. He doesn't throw hard. He's got a lot of different pitches. And when those pitchers, when their trajectory starts to look like it's going in the wrong direction, it generally doesn't come back. He's not going to learn to throw harder. What's he going to do? Maybe add a pitch? Well, the league has seen him. They've caught up with him. I don't think we should be spending 3 years, $70 million on a pitcher with an ERA of almost 5. We got enough starting pitching. Don't waste your money there. Let me bring up some names. I brought up Paredes. What do we do? Who else will we get? Hector Neris, who Houston said, no, he's done. And the Cubs said, okay, we'll take him. He didn't even make it a full season with the Cubs. So what do we do? The next year, we decide, hey, Houston doesn't want Ryan Presley anymore. We'll get him. But it didn't work. You tried it last year with Neris, the same team, the same situation. Same with Presley. He doesn't make it through a season. Eric Hosmer, let's get Eric Hosmer, who was clearly on a downward trajectory with the Padres. He came here and did nothing, did not make it through the season. Trey Mancini, downward trajectory. What did we do? We got him, and he did nothing, did not make it through the season. David Ross kept running that guy out in the field when he had no glove. Drives me crazy. I'll even put Cody Bellinger in this. Cody Bellinger, injury prone. He wasn't hitting 45 bombs anymore. He was hitting 210 and hitting 18 bombs for the Dodgers. We took a chance on him. Did he do good? He did pretty good. He wasn't great. He wasn't the stud, but he did okay. Good enough for us to extend the contract? No, I didn't mind seeing him go. The only reason he flourished in New York is because New York has a right field porch like Houston and Boston have a left field porch. It's easier to hit there. So he hit more home runs there. Wrigley Field has played like a big ballpark for 2 straight years now. Those home runs that Bellinger used to hit or that he hit in New York were going to be fly balls. Ask Kyle Tucker this year how hard it was to hit the ball out of Wrigley Field. It's not easy. So I put Cody Bellinger in there too. I don't want another Cody Bellinger. I don't want another reclamation project. I'll even put one that has worked out. Colin Ray has worked out, fortunately. But did I want him at the time? No, even though he was like 12-6 with the Brewers the year before, his ERA the second half was over 5. I don't want to see us wasting money, wasting resources, wasting roster spots on the Zach Gallens and the Alex Bregmans of the world. If we're going to go out and spend some money, spend money on someone who is going to impact this team. And if you can't find that, we were in on Dylan Cease until it got a little bit too much for our blood, and then we backed out. Okay? So, okay, would I have given Dylan Cease that kind of money for 5 years? No. I did not have a problem with them saying, no, we're not going to do it. Toronto, they're in a different situation. They're in a win now situation. We are in a we could win now if things fall right, but we don't have all the pieces in place. But if we're going to spend money on all these reclamation projects, scrap that, get one big pile of money and go get you Bo Bichette if you really want someone to take over third base. Go get you one of the big pitchers that's out there. Go get you the Framer Valdez's of the world, which I'm not too hot on either. I would much rather see a trade to bring in a Joe Ryan. That's who I want at the top of the staff. Yeah. He misses bats. He throws hards. He's durable, and he has been dang good with the Twins team last year that was just horrible. So that's my rant. I have been listening to so many pundits and people on podcasts saying, why don't we need to spend that money on Alex Bregman? Why? Why? I don't get it. It's not, you said, well, because Matt Shaw only hit 226 or whatever he hit. Yeah, but the second half, he was pretty dang good. And when you add that stellar defense and the fact that he's 8 years younger than Bregman, I don't get that. I don't get this fascination with Zach Gallen. 3 years in a row, he has been trending in the wrong direction. And then what would we do? We would sign in and, gee, why does this guy have an ERA of about 5? I don't know, maybe because he was starting to suck. You have to look at trends. This is not the steroid era anymore. It used to be you start trending downward, you juice up, and you have a resurgence. You become Roger Clemens again. It doesn't work that way anymore. I don't want to see these guys spend their money on these kind of players. We're the Cubs. If you're going to spend that kind of revenue, spend it on a player who's going to make an impact. And right now, the only player that I see that is available, I would have said two a few hours ago, but Schwarber signed a contract. The only one that I say you break the bank for is Bo Bichette. And if you want to replace Matt Shaw with Bo Bichette, who's just a few years older than Matt Shaw, fine. Bo Bichette at this time is going to maybe help you win a World Series. But I can guarantee you this: you bring Bregman over, and Bregman doesn't hit 30 home runs, but he hits 17 home runs, and he flies out all the time, and his batting average dips down to 240, and he starts to deteriorate defensively because that's what you do when you're in your mid 30s and you think, huh, that Matt Shaw who's in, I don't know, Baltimore right now, gosh dang, man, this is his third straight All Star year. Why did we do this? Exactly. That's my rant. I've been listening to too many podcasts who talk about why don't we get Bregman? Why don't we get Gallen? That's why you don't get Bregman and Gallen, because I've seen it too often the last few years where we get these guys who are reclamation projects or who are clearly on a downward trajectory, and we think, oh well, they'll play better here. They don't. They don't make it through the season. Most of them don't. Rant over. That's Cub News and Rumors.
That was the best rant we ever had on here, Vince. You were on fire. Outstanding.
No, the best rant we ever have on here, is going to come right now from a guy named Jeremy Connor. Comes a time in every man's life when he needs some advice on relationships. You need to listen to the podcast DMDR, which stands for Dating, Marriage, Divorce, Remarriage, from my good friend Jeremy Connor, the Dr. Phil of the Boot Hill. You can find DMDR on Spotify or whatever platform you choose to listen to your podcast. Oh, JJ and I, we're going to give our Christmas wish list for our teams.
I brought my stocking. I got my wish list, Vince. Okay, my stocking stuffers.
I didn't know we were doing visual things. Tell me.
I do mine because of lack of rant. I rant. I rant. I'm all over the place.
Okay, I'll go first.
Please.
The first wish list I have for the Cubs is I want the Cubs to bring back Len Casper from the White Sox, put him back in the booth, and get rid of Boog Sciambi. Boog is a great announcer, but he's a national announcer. He's a corporate announcer. He's not a homer. And when I watch a game, he's not a Cub fan. When I watch a game, I want to see the announcer who's a Cub fan. Harry Carey, Steve Stone, Jim DeShays, Len Casper. I've been spoiled my whole life with these guys, Jack Brickhouse, who loved the Cubs and were homers for the Cubs. Boog just isn't that guy. And listening to him do a Sunday night game of the week, he's fine. He's great. Listen to him do basketball, he's fine. He's great. I don't hate him as much as a lot of people do. My only issue with him is he's just not a Cub fan. He's a generic person doing a home team's announcing. So that's my number one wish list. I want Len Casper to come back from the White Sox where he belongs, get back in the booth with Jim DeShays, and have the DeShays-Casper team back together.
Standing. I didn't even think about announcers. I'm pretty happy with the Cardinals announcers. Well, I have an honorable mention first in my stocking stuffers, and my honorable mention is Merry Christmas. I hope all you guys out there have a great Merry Christmas with your friends and family. And it's just a great memory right there. So that is my first honorable mention. And I know but I mentioned in here, I just put different ones in here. So I'm the first one I got right here is uh oh, I would like to see the Cardinals at this spot we're in make some decisions on our young players and extend their contracts and make these young guys the face of the team. Whoever they decide on, a few guys I would like to see maybe get a long contract. Mason Wynn, uh, JJ Weatherholt. He now I would like to see JJ do a couple of years in the big leagues and then extend them. But I have to say the Brewers, they said, Jackson Chirios, you're our man, and they signed him with like a 8-9 year contract right out of the gate. I'd like to see the Cardinals do that so we know some stability on the future. Now I don't know who they would decide on first, but Mason Wynn is as good as any to me, and we have a couple coming. Liam Doyle or Ivan Herrera, who happens to be our best hitter in our organization right now, in the big leagues anyway. So I would like to see the Cardinals just a little stability, maybe give one of these young players an extension so they'll be around for when we turn the corner and start getting much better. So that's my first Christmas wish right there.
Okay. My second Christmas list is I want the Cubs to re-sign both Brad Keller and Caleb Thielbar. They were so important to our bullpen. Keller closed games towards the end of the season and into postseason, and was just dynamite at it. Thielbar was almost hittable when he came in against left-handers. The curveball is just completely nasty, and I would like to see both of them come back. Now, Brad Keller has stated that he wants to go somewhere and start, but I think he started to soften up on that, and there is reports that he is starting to talk to the Cubs again. So I think if the Cubs can put together a good financial package, he would stay as one of the high leverage people in the bullpen, which is what I think would keep some continuity on this in this bullpen, which we hadn't had for a while. Caleb Thielbar, I did not realize how good he was against left-handers because I had barely seen him. I'd seen him come in a time or two for the Twins and hadn't really paid much attention. But man, that guy, his curveball is so may have the nastiest curveball against left-handers in Major League Baseball.
Let me see in my stocking right here what's going on. Uh, I want to see the Cardinals. It's a youth movement, and I would like to see, this is my wish for the Cardinals in the upcoming year, the youth movement. A lot of times you have a big contract guy and you play them because you got more money invested. They do that, the scholarship guys in college and everything. But I would like to see the best team on the field. And last year, I thought there was times because we were out of it that JJ Weatherholt could come up. The fans would at least have something. Oh, the future, this kid's coming. He had a heck of a year down the minors, but they kept him down there. And a lot of teams do this so they can extend the time that they have him under like these, a cheaper rate and all that. But I think the fans deserve it. We don't have a lot to cheer for. Let's play the best team predominantly. I know these guys need rest and everything. And just play the more consistent players. There's other things I was going to talk about, but last year I think sometimes we would just play guys. We were taking a look at people, and Jordan Walker, who's down in spring training right now, working his butt off, and I know he's giving it everything he can. He's been down there all winter, and he's working on a new stance and doing it. I wish him the best. He's still a young player, but if he doesn't have it, he's a fourth outfielder, a part-time player. Send him back to the minors. I don't know if you can now. He's been up for so long, but just play your best team. Last year, I thought there was a lot of times like, why isn't Alec Burleson playing more? He was killing it. And I understand he's a lefty, and maybe this situation wasn't for his best, but there was times last year it just seems like they were auditioning and not going and giving it their best effort. So play your best team, even if it's a young player. Put them in the game and let them play.
My next wish is related to what you did one or two wishes ago. I want extensions for PCA, Michael Bush, and Kate Horton. And I know that it takes two to tango. So tango, I said tango, tango. So, if the player doesn't want to be extended, and all indication PCA is not going to sign an extension, he's going to gamble on his health, that he's going to be able to break the bank when he becomes a free agent. That's his prerogative. Michael Bush, on the other hand, he's 28, 29. I mean, he spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. Um, we have control over him for the next 4 years. I'd like to see us offer him like a 6 year contract, 6 years, maybe 110, 120 million, and say, hey, you're our first baseman for the next 6 years. You spent a lot of time in the minor leagues. We believe in you. Guy popped 34 home runs last year, and he hit some home runs in Wrigley that nobody else was hitting. He was hitting them into the wind. He's got unbelievable natural power. So I would like to see him extended, and I would certainly like to see Cade Horton be extended past his arbitration years. He's still a young guy. I know he's got the injury history, so the Cubs may be a little shy. They may want to see another season out of him, but I'd like to see them try to lock him up and to give us a young core that we could look forward to over the next 7, 8 years to keep things together, that we can build around when some players retire. So here we
Very
go.
good. Very good. And the players you mentioned, the Cub fans love them. It seems it's just a perfect. They should stick around and be there for a long, long time. Well, I kind of contradicted myself the last time I said youth movement, but I would like to see some solid veterans. Especially, you need some veterans. I know we have Contreras right now, we have Arenado, but really in our pitching staff, we don't have anybody. Cal Leahy's one of the maybe older bullpen guys, except for JoJo Romero, and they're shopping JoJo. It's not as easy as it sounds. Everybody says, "Oh, we'll piece together a bullpen," but it's not that necessarily that easy. I'd like to see some of the guys from the minors come up who might be just about ready get in that bullpen. But I'd like to see them go out, and they don't have to be the big name guys that are out there who's done it year after year, solid. That's all I want, just a solid player. I always love players like you guys had that pitcher Cal Hendricks, who was a pitcher. I know it was at the end of his career, but he killed the Cardinals. I love players like that just come in, pitch, eat up some innings. And I mentioned Matz. He's the type of guy. And I think we could pick up a couple of those guys and give them a shot in spring training and see if they make the team. And it's always good to have a veteran's influence on some young players. Wainwright, even though they're at the end of his career, he was not the same pitcher, but he had a great influence because he was a great guy on the young pitching staff of these guys that's going to hopefully carry us for years and years. So my hope is the Cardinals pick up, spend a little money and get a couple of good number 4, number 3s in here that have a long track record of being a solid pitcher. So that's my wish right there.
Okay, I'm not going to spend a lot of time repeating myself. I'm just going to say 4 words. I want Joe Ryan.
Very nice. Hey, plain and simple. My fourth is be more aggressive. I feel like a cheerleader. Be more aggressive. That's what I want. I want to see. Yeah, that's right. I'd like to see them. We were in the bottom third of stolen bases last year. We don't got nothing to lose. Let them loose. Victor Scott, you got a green light. Go. I think that guy could be a game changer. I like that. Be hitting run. It just seems like we didn't. Oh, we might run into a few outs. Yes, but also you're going to get the guys. It seemed like it took us 3 hits to get a run last year. Hit and run. Be more aggressive. Bunt. The top stolen bases teams, we weren't even close to those guys. And we play 2 of them, Milwaukee and Chicago. So I just like to see that. And I see we've got team speed. Herrera for a catcher is very fast. Wynn, Victor Scott, and Lars Nootbaar. And I'd like to see Victor. He started bunting more. We bunted more than we have in a long time. But I'd like to see a bunt be more part of the game because if you get a good bunt down with his speed, every play is a bang bang play at first. So And stop swinging for the fences. Mason Wynn, you're not a home run hitter. I don't care if you hit another home run the rest of your career. Put the ball in play and run. Same with Victor Scott. Sometimes it looks like he's swinging out of his shoes. Just make contact and run and get on base. That should be your game. Yeah, I remember Ozzie Smith and Whitey Herzog had a bet. Every time he put the ball in the air, he owed Whitey $1. Every time he put it on the ground, Whitey owed him $1. Do something like that, and let's get some people on base and score some runs this year.
Um, my final wish, and this is not going to happen, and it's nothing against this player. I really like him as a human being, and I think he's a good teammate, and he's a leader on the Cubs. But I would like to see a replacement in left field for Ian Happ, someone who can pop 30, 35 home runs. I know Happ has won his Gold Gloves, but someone's got to win him in left field. So he's just, I think he's won four. But I, the low batting average, the lack of production at big moments, it's worn thin on me. And I would like to see a replacement, but he's under contract for I think 2 more years, getting paid 20 million a year. He's got no trade clause. He's not going anywhere. But this is a wish list. And my wish is that we had someone in left field who was more of a threat offensively than Ian Happ. And nothing against the guy. I really like him as a human being, but and I listen to his podcast religiously. He's a very thoughtful, insightful guy. Um, but thoughtful, insightful guys are not what wins baseball games. Guys who hit the home runs and uh, drive in the runs. That's what wins you baseball games.
That's true. Well, Vince, my last one, it just so happened I picked this one last, and this was actually the one I want the most. And it looks like we're going in the right direction. Player development. That was always the standard for the Cardinals, but we had George Kissel and Jose Oquendo. And these guys could work. We've had a lot of players over the years that switched positions. Todd Zeal went to third. Shannon moved on the infield when we got Roger Maris and for need. And it looks like we've hired a lot of top-notch people that's had success in other organizations. I'd like to see them get down there, work with these players. Not long ago, Jordan Walker was our number one prospect, and they had him playing third base. Well, it just looked like there's no room for him at third because Arenado's there. And if he's got a no trade clause, you should be playing him in the outfield so he can get up here and help the team out. And he hadn't hardly played the outfield and was terrible in the outfield his first year. We can't have that. You got to be able to play, help the major league team. That's the whole goal. Work your way up, get better and better, and help the major league team. And they spend a lot of money, even though it doesn't show in the big leagues, in the minors, and that's where it all comes from. These guys, you work them up there, defense, and I think versatility. Guys that maybe can play. I mean, we had Tommy Edman, Brendan Donovan, and this Thomas JC, who I love, can play a lot of different positions. Sometimes you don't need to play a lot of positions, but as you see, Contreras moved to first and did a great job. I'm not claiming the Cardinals did that. This guy's a super athlete, probably could play anywhere you put him in the diamond, but it's good to have some versatility, work with these guys, get them there early, whatever it takes, and just have the team ready and get the most out of your players. And I think in the last few years, that hasn't happened, but hopefully things are changing for the better. And they started in the minors, and I think that's where it all starts. So hopefully we see that, because once we get that going, we can bring players up or trade them for other pieces we need. And that's what it's all about. So that's my biggest wish right there, player development.
Very good. Well, JJ,
Yes,
I
sir.
have once again I think it's the 1990 Dondress.
Oh, I like the pack. I like those cards. Well, tops are my favorite overall, and I happen to have a pack of 1993, way back in 1993. Yes, kids, they had electricity back in 93. So I have a pack of 1993 tops.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'm feeling optimistic. We both have three Hall of Famers.
Wow, you've been on fire all day, Vince. All right, you want to go first? I'm going to say, just to have something different to say, you know what? Four Hall of Famers. You don't have four.
Oh, just had this guy last week. For the Reds, one of the nasty boys, Norm Charlton.
Norm Charlton. Good one right there. Not a Hall of Famer, though.
Yeah. Former Cardinal, former Yankee, former Cub, former Twin, and former Angel, Willie Frazier.
Okay.
Wait a
Don't know
minute.
much.
Wrong Frazier.
George?
I was thinking of George Frazier. Willie Frazier.
Oh,
Former
okay.
former Angel. So, oh, I do have a Hall of Famer.
Hey,
Uh, for
one.
the Chicago Cubs, pitcher Greg Maddux.
Oh, yeah. One of the all-time greats. One of the best.
Oh, very good closer. Pitched for the, I believe, Expos and Twins and Red Sox. Yes. Jeff Reardon.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that
He was,
beard.
I just had him on my immaculate grid, Jeff
Ah,
Reardon.
former Cardinal, former Brave, former Royal, former Philly, uh, Lonnie Smith.
Oh, yeah. Skates. Yeah.
Yep. Runner up for the MVP in 1982. Very good.
Really? I didn't
Yes.
realize that. I didn't
Yep.
realize that.
Catcher for the Baltimore Orioles. I barely remember the name. Chris Boyles.
Yeah, not much on him. I don't know.
Oh, this guy had the hits. He had ebony eyes. He had sentimental lady. He used to play for Fleetwood. Oh, wait a minute. No, this is All-Star pitcher Bob Welch.
Wow, 27 wins with the A's that one year.
Yep. Uh, also pitched for the Dodgers and
That the Welch Reggie Jackson matchup in the World Series, that one at bat where he kept fouling them off, one of the
yeah.
greatest pitcher batter fights ever. That was a great one.
Diamond Kings, former Giant, former Diamondback, former manager Matt Williams.
Matt Williams, yeah.
Ooh, one of my favorite Cardinals of all time, the former center fielder All-Star. This is his rated rookie card, Ray Ray.
Oh, yeah. Love Ray Langford. Cardinal Hall of Famer.
This guy used to work. This is how big of a nerd I am. This guy used to work at the UPS facility in Minneapolis with my father-in-law.
Really?
Yeah, and my father-in-law knew I was a big baseball fan. He knew nothing about baseball. He said, you ever heard of a guy named Dana Kicker? I said, yeah, left-hander for the Red Sox.
I'll
He
be
said,
darned.
I work with him. I said, oh, really? Yeah. Didn't have much of a career, but uh, must be a nice guy because he actually signed a baseball for my father-in-law to give to me. So Dana,
Oh, Dana Kicker. He might be our new BB Richards right there. We'll have to keep him going.
uh, here's a guy who some people think should be in the Hall, Mark McGuire.
Great power hitter, but he had a little help.
Cleveland Indians pitcher Sergio Valdez. I don't remember him.
Sergio. That sounds like a singer. Was there a singer with a name similar?
Sergio Mendez.
Maybe that's it right there. Hey, hey.
Or in the Jane's Addiction song, Jane
Oh,
says Sergio. Yeah,
that's Sergio.
terrible boyfriend. Um, Pitcher for the Yankees, Alan Mills.
Don't know.
White Sox pitcher, relief pitcher, hard thrower, Scott Radinsky.
Scott.
Uh, former Angel, former Red Sox, center fielder Dave Henderson.
Oh, yes. Love Dave Henderson.
And I have a puzzle piece. And this, I believe, is the shin of Willie Stargell.
Hall of Famer.
Oh, that's a Hall of Fame shin.
That's
So,
right.
so I'll say I got two Hall of Famers just to make
You
myself a little happy.
you got two Hall of Famers. Well, I'll be darned. Well, by the way, you said three for me. I'm gonna say four. Haven't really looked except for the top card. And the top card is a Hall of Famer. Maybe my all-time favorite catcher, Ivan Rodriguez. Pudge.
There he is.
I have a picture I set in his locker. How about that?
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Not Tito's brother, but a different Mike Jackson. Relief pitcher extraordinaire right there. There he is. He's grimacing. This guy was such a good player on a great team. A's catcher Terry Steinbeck right there.
Oh yeah.
Very good. Let me find the bet. There it is. That's a I was too close. Right there. Love those A's uniforms too. All right. All right. I'm gonna try to say this guy's name. I'm not good with names. This is Detroit Tiger, Kurt Knudsen, right there. Knudsen. Yeah.
Kurt.
Kurt, there he is, Kurt. Oh, Brewers, Billy Wigman. I remember that guy.
Bill Wegman, yeah.
Yeah, had a nice career. Very good player. Let's see. Oh, second Hall of Famer, and I love this card. I guess they went down to Louisville and had a big one made. The one and only Mr. Kirby Puckett.
Kirby.
Kirby Puckett.
That
What
shows
a
how small he was. That is just a regulation size bat.
remember Land of the Giants where they would like use a big spool and they'd all push it. You remember that Land of the Giants show back in like the 60s? No, they were little bitty people. They had these adventures stuff. Jeff Passero from the Montreal Expos.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, there he is, Passero. Oh. Oh, not a Hall of Famer, but a Hall of Great, but not quite great enough. Frank Viola, Sweet Music.
Ah, Frank, yeah.
Man, him and Blyleven killed us in the 87 World Series. Checklist. All right. Oh, the Rat. I love the Rat. He played all around the league. He was a Cardinal and a Cub. Gary Gaetti. Wasn't he a Cub?
Yeah, he was a Cub.
He was a Cub. I always think of him on that team with Kirby Puckett. He was one of the Twins back then, too. But there he is with the Angels sliding in.
Pride of Centralia, Illinois.
You don't see, he knows the hometowns. He knows the mascots from the high school, all that stuff. All right.
Centralia Orphans. I love that name.
Is that what it is? Centralia Orphans?
And also in Central Illinois, Teutopolis. This is my favorite mascot name, the Teutopolis Wooden Shoes.
Wooden Shoes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a story about that. We'll have to have that one day. The story behind mascot names in the high school. All right. White Sox. If you give me a list, I probably could name maybe 15 White Sox pitchers, but this is one of my favorite. Blackjack McDowell.
Oh,
there.
love that.
I love them Sox uniforms, them particular ones. Seems like they trade uniforms more than any other team. Okay. I believe this guy is a outfielder, Darren Lewis of the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
pretty
right
good.
There. We're down to the last two. And reliever, Jeff Montgomery.
Oh, yeah. Close for the Royals.
Yeah, he was reliever of the year one year with the Royals, I believe. And finally, oh, man, sometimes you want to end on an upbeat, but I honestly don't know this guy. Catcher from the Giants, Craig Colbert. Craig Colbert right there.
He's somebody's son.
Yeah, good looking guy right there with his chest protector on. And that's it for me, Vince, with my cards.
Well, we didn't quite hit the number of Hall of Famers that we had, but you know what? Is it ever not fun opening up baseball cards?
Always fun. Always a delight.
Always fun. So, well, JJ, you have a good week.
You too, sir.
Christmas is approaching, and
I hope you get Ryan. I hope you get that Twins pitcher, Ryan.
I do too. So, all right. Well, thank you everybody for putting up with my rants today, and we will see you next week where Vince will be in a better mood, and JJ will still be the best looking guy on the podcast.
Oh, get out of here.